Welcome to Pontification Nation. I'm your host, Ricky Skittle. As always, coming to you live from my mother's basement. We got a thing. We got a segment today. It's this week in. Is this really what you want? Is this really what you want? We got a lot of stuff going on in this country today. And yesterday. We had I guess maybe 2 days ago now, we had a very interesting moment where we had Democrats actually start telling the truth about who they are and what they want. Now, it's just refreshingly amazing to have Democrats tell the truth on who they are and what they want, but it is completely terrifying because all the things that we have thought were true are, so... We're going to talk about abortion today. We're going to talk about this Virginia bill and this lady, and I'm glad that we finally have stuff like this on video so that we can have an honest conversation about what this is and what these people are in favor of. Just a quick anecdotal story here. I have bias related to this topic. I just want you to know, I mean, this is an opinion show. We are pontificating here. But I do have some bias, and my bias relates to something that happened in my life. A long, long time ago in my life, before I was born, my mom was having second thoughts about if she wanted to have another child. There were things going on in her life. Her and my dad were, probably, the relationship was probably close to over at the time that she got pregnant. And, I had an older brother and whatnot. And, she had an appointment, and she ended up walking out of that appointment and making the unselfish decision, but the very hard decision at that point in time of deciding to let me live. And Mom, if you're listening, which I hope you are, I want to thank you for that, because every day I wake up. So, when we talk about a life and what is a life, to some people that may be debatable, but to me, it's simply not. Because if she had made a different decision, I would not be here pontificating with you today. So again, thanks, Mom. In any case, moving forward, we want to talk a little bit about Delegate Tran and what her bill says. Now, a couple things I want you to notice. Watch her face and watch her body language. I'm sure that you guys have seen this video already, but I really want to kind of hammer home some of the finer points, as we watch it together. But definitely see this. She's here, and she's got a different face on. And she's got a different face on. Her face here is kind of like, a little combative. We'll see how she gets sympathetic later.
So how late in the third trimester would you be able to do that?
It's very unfortunate that our physicians, witnesses, were not able to attend today to speak specifically.
No, I'm talking about your...
Okay, so what she's saying there is, I really don't want to answer questions about what this terrible, awful, baby-killing bill is. I would prefer to have doctors answer them for me.
Bill, how late in the third trimester could a physician perform an abortion if he indicated it would impair the mental health of the woman?
Or physical health.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm talking about the mental health.
So, through the third trimester. The third trimester goes all the way up to 40 weeks.
Okay, but to the end of the third trimester.
Yep, I don't think we have a limit in the bill.
So, where it's obvious that a woman is about to give birth, she has physical signs that she is about to give a birth, would that still be a point at which she could request an abortion if she was so certified? She's dilating.
Now, see that right there? That face, look at her. Her eyes go down, her shoulders drop. She's utterly devastated. She's devastated that she has to answer this question because I think one of two things. Either one, she thinks that, man, my bill is toast because I have to answer this question honestly. Or two, oh my goodness, I have to answer this question honestly. And when I do, there is no chance that I'm ever going to get reelected to anything again because this truly is not what the American people want.
Mr. Chairman, that would be a decision that the doctor, the physician, and the woman would
I understand
make at
that. I'm
that
asking
point.
if your bill allows that.
My bill would allow that, yes.
Okay. So now we know who we are. And she answered the question. I mean, more power to her. She did answer the question. I appreciate that. So that gives you a little bit of an idea. Obviously, they just passed something similar in New York. There is legislation in the houses of New Mexico, Rhode Island, Maryland, Vermont, Maine, all that would do this type of stuff. Now, let's move over and look at Dr. Northam, the governor of Virginia. Now, Dr. Northam, for a little background on this, is a pediatric neurologist, right? So, Governor Northam, Dr. Northam, whatever you'd like to call him, is probably very well versed and probably has a real life experience with third trimester abortions. In Virginia currently, as it sits, there's 3 physicians have to sign off to get a third trimester abortion, and there are infanticide laws on the books as well. The infanticide laws exclude the woman from any culpability in the murder of a baby, if it's her own baby. But in any case, there are still infanticide laws on the books. So if you were to kill a pregnant woman who had an 8 months pregnant, and the baby died as well, you would be charged with a double murder. Unless you were the mother who was aborting the child. But he would most certainly be one of the doctors. How many pediatric neurologists are there in the world? Probably not many. He would be one of the doctors that people consulted on, what would happen with a baby that looked like it was, going to have a tough time. Neurologists are brain surgeons. So he's a pediatric brain surgeon. He's dealing with some of the most acute and difficult situations, that a mother could have with her child. So for him to say anything other than what he is talking about, his real life experience, is disingenuous, and neither of these people have any right to walk back their comments. The things I want you to focus on here is, as you watch in the beginning of the video, he's looking down, he's reading his Democrat talking points, right? He is, and then when he gets through the talking points, he looks up and starts looking over at the host at WTOP, and then he starts telling her, I think the line is, "Let me tell you how this works in real life," because he most certainly has experienced things like this because of his profession. This is probably something that happens to people who are pediatric brain surgeons. In any case, I just want you to, get an idea of where we're at here with Governor Northam.
No exception. There was a very contentious committee hearing yesterday when Fairfax County Delegate Kathy Tran made her case for lifting restrictions on third trimester abortions, as well as other restrictions now in place. And she was pressed by a Republican delegate about whether her bill would permit an abortion even as a woman is essentially dilating, ready to give birth. And she answered that it would permit an abortion at that stage of labor. Do you support her measure, and explain her answer?
Yeah, and I wasn't there, Julie, and I certainly can't speak for Delegate Tran, but I would tell you, first thing I would say, this is why decisions such as this should be made by providers, physicians, and the mothers and fathers that are involved. There are, when we talk about third trimester abortions, these are done with the consent of obviously the mother, with the consent of the physicians, more than one physician, by the way. And it's done in cases where there may be severe deformities, there may be a fetus that's non-viable. So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. So I think this was really blown out of proportion. But again, we want the government not to be involved in these types of decisions.
Okay, focus on that language. He is saying that the infant would be made comfortable when they're born and then resuscitated if that's what the parents wanted. Those two things cannot exist in the same realm or plane of existence. You cannot make a baby comfortable and then resuscitate it. You either kill the baby and then resuscitate it, or the baby does not need resuscitation because it is still alive. So that is, the guy, he clearly knows what he's talking about, because he probably has had to help mothers make some of these very difficult decisions throughout his career based on his profession. I don't know that for a fact, but based on his profession and the amount of pediatric neurosurgeons there are, I would assume that he is involved in these types of discussions with mothers. So it is disingenuous for him to state that any of this was taken out of context or misconstrued. That would be a lie. What he is doing here is he's telling you the truth about his real life experience and his personal opinions, and what he has probably done. So let's just get past all this. Now, why is this a little bit refreshing? Because now we get to ask them questions. So we'll go through a couple of these. Senator Menendez, corruption junction up in New Jersey. I have to look at what you're talking about. I don't know what bill you're talking about. Have you heard Governor Northam's comments? I don't know. I haven't seen them. I don't know what he said. I don't know what he said. I don't want to comment on that. I haven't seen anything. I've been in retreats. Obviously, I just got out of a meeting. I have no idea what he said. I have no idea what has happened there. I do follow the governor of Vermont, though, all the time. We need to go back and ask Senator Leahy what he's thinking about Vermont's legislation on the books about, basically infanticide in Vermont. Senator Jack Reed, Rhode Island, which also has something. I don't know what this is about. I have not listened. And then Tim Kaine, held the party line pretty well. He always talks about how his personal beliefs are different than his political beliefs. And they all just basically are avoiding. They're saying, I support Roe, this is, blah, 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 whatever. They're actually just saying I didn't even hear it. Now, there's no way a sitting senator in the Democrat Party did not hear about this from the DNC and get talking points. I mean, it's just not possible. This is the way they operate. 4 a.m. talking points go out every day. We know it. Google anything that's the news of the day. All the articles come out at between 4 and 4:30 in the morning. There is one senator who was kind of honest. I think it's a great statement for women's rights, as Carolyn Maloney. She's a House representative. I think it's a great statement for women's rights. New York has always been a flagship for human rights, blah, blah, blah. And then they say, do you support partial birth abortion, though? I support the women's right to choose and their health and make decisions about their health. I don't know when we started saying that, murdering children was a women's health care decision, but I guess that's what it is. Now, what do we do here? We look at these things and then we start asking questions about why they happen. Why are they happening? I think I have a pretty good example of why they're happening. This is a GAO. I'll leave this in the show notes so you can read the whole thing, but I'm just going to highlight table 2 here in interest of time. But this is a report from the Government Accountability Office that was sent to a bunch of senators and representatives that requested it. So this is about how much money the federal government spends or gives to four groups. One is called a federally qualified healthcare center. The other one is International Planned Parenthood, then Marie Stopes International, and Planned Parenthood Federation of America. So, these are two Planned Parenthood, the domestic and international arm. This is obviously some Planned Parenthood of, other countries. And then these are interesting. This report states that they are, basically clinics. Here, federally qualified health centers may be part of a large organization such as a state health department or a university. The data systems used to collect obligations data were unable to distinguish obligations to FQCH's HCs from those larger organizations. So, we're talking about maybe abortion clinics on campuses. These are most likely going to be health clinics that primarily focus on abortion and contraception in different areas of the country. So this is coming out of the HHS budget and the U.S. aid budget. So basically U.S. aid is like the HHS for the international community because, all we do here is exfiltrate our wealth and destroy our country. So when we look at this and we think about, everyone knows the 500 million number. Planned Parenthood gets 500 million from, the federal government, blah, blah, blah. Now, when we look at this in a different way, and I'm sure this is why they requested it, because they wanted to know exactly how much money we truly spend on abortions. I think these three organizations are pretty safe to say that the most of this money is going to abortion. Maybe 5 or 10% of it is not. Now, these a little different. The data is all combined, but I don't think that the people who requested this information would be requesting it from places where they didn't think the primary objective of the operation was abortion. So in reality, while we think we're spending $500 million a year of our money, you remember, our money. This is not their money. The government doesn't have money. They confiscate money from us illegally through the income tax. Okay? So this is our money. We are spending $8 billion in 2013, $8.7 billion in 2014, and $9.9 billion in 2015. Those are billions with a B, for a total of $26.5 billion over that 3-year period. So every 10 years, we're spending $100 billion on abortion and abortion-related care, across, not only in this country, but across the world. So we are financing population control for the global cabal. And, that's what's going on in this country related to abortion. So anytime anyone wants to talk to you about anything, ask them, is this really what you want? Is this really what you want? When Roe v. Wade, in 1970, there were 4 states in the United States that had that legalized abortion. There were 20 that had some lower restrictions on it. Now you can get the Plan B pill in CVS over the counter. So I don't know if the United States population, and maybe it's changed in 40 years, but I don't think that there are a lot of people who believe that, we should be spending $10 billion a year, especially on this population control of the global cabal, 64 billion or whatever, $63 million over a 3-year period on this. Do we really need to fund abortions in other countries too? Why do we have to do that? Is that what you want? Is that what you're looking for? See, HHS, there's no Marie Stopes International money, so HHS is the domestic version of U.S. aid, right? Marie Stopes International gets tons of money from U.S. aid. So we need to figure this out. Is this what we want? I think there's 2 positives that we can get from this. One is that the Democrats are actually starting to tell the truth, and they're starting to try to legislate this, which means that we will have an opportunity. This is the second point, to take this back to the Supreme Court. and have an actual decision based on the Constitution. This is a states' rights issue. It is not a federal issue. It was never intended to be a federal issue, and in this country, if you want to live in a state where abortions are legal, you should be able to, and you can go there and you can live there. And if you don't, you should be able to. This is not something that should be mandated at the federal level. So now that we see the government gives all this money, what does Planned Parenthood do for the government? Why would they put themselves at risk by making these kind of statements? Right? Because, I can't imagine that anyone in Fairfax County is going to vote for this lady again. Somebody needs to be primarying her up there. On the Democrat side, and on the Republican side, I hope you would run and run from a centrist perspective, because this person is not well. She's not healthy in the mind if this is what she thinks. So, why do these people do this? Oh, here you go. Here it is. Let's just look at 2018. So, 2018, Planned Parenthood alone, and through all of its agencies and affiliates, this is a total criminal money laundering operation when you actually really look at these dollars and where they start going. I'll put this in the show notes as well so you can fool around with it on your own. So $15 million, $16 million in 2018. Now, 2016, I think, was around the same number, maybe a little higher. $4 million in contributions, $15 million in outside spending, so that's 19, and another, 2 and change here, so we're looking at 21, 22 million in the presidential elections. So that money is going back to the government. Now, ask yourself this: do you want the federal government giving people 500 million, and upwards of 580 million, and then when we look at the total, billions, tens of billions of dollars a year, to then give the money back to politicians so that they can win their re-election campaigns? Is that something that you think is okay? If you think that's okay, then the current system we have is okay. If you don't think that's okay, then we need to do something. Something needs to change. I'm tired, so tired. I've been told my whole life, listen, Ricky, you just need to focus on the things that you can control. These are all things you can't control. Don't worry about this stuff, because none of it's ever going to change. I'm telling you what, it is time for us to change things. It's time for us to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, is this what I want? Because all of us are complicit in that, because that's all of our money, right? Remember, the government can't create money. They can create it on their own by printing it, but they tax us. That's where the money comes from. The money comes from our pockets and goes into the pockets of these companies and these people, right? And then it goes back into the pockets of the government, our elected representatives. Now, why? Because why is it not legislated? Why didn't we make a constitutional amendment that abortion is a right to a woman's health care right? You know why? And why it's not legislated, why it's not an amendment to the Constitution? Because there isn't support for this. There is not support for this type of stuff in the United States. They had to get it through the legislature. That's why they're so panicked about the Supreme Court justices, because they're afraid. Now, if they keep pushing laws like this, people are going to sue. It's going to go to the Supreme Court. They're actually putting themselves in jeopardy, because if they just left everything the way it was, people would probably still stay asleep. They wouldn't take their pills. They wouldn't wake up. But at the end of the day, right now, we need to wake up. Now, let's look at how the money gets divvied up amongst the representatives that receive it. Okay, so 2018, we'll look there. 2018 was 800,000. Now, this is just, contributions directly to campaigns, right? 800,000 to 2,000, right? 84 Democrats, 0 Republicans. 33 Democrats, 2 Republicans. They are not. This is political activism, is what it is. And the problem with the money is that it's coming from us. These people are legislating to give the money to Planned Parenthood, and then Planned Parenthood is in turn giving the money back to them, the same money that they just got for this. If Planned Parenthood can do $15 million a year in activism, which is probably more like 30 to 45 million if you really look at it. This is just what's reported. Then why are we giving them $500 million a year and more than that? Why are we doing that? Why are we paying for abortions in sub-Saharan Africa? And why are we doing that? What is the reason? That's not our business. It's not what we need to be doing. Here a little bit better. Republicans got 14-7. They actually got 2 Republicans in the House that got money, but only 1 in the Senate. But you're up 50% because you got 3 Republicans as opposed to 2. This is a sham. It is a joke. It is disgusting. What these people are doing with your money is disgusting. It is time for you to wake up and ask yourself, is this really what I want? Thanks for listening today. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's a tough subject. If you haven't yet, go to the landing page, hit the button for subscribe, and smash that bell for notifications. We got about 3 or 4 more videos coming out real quick this weekend, so you definitely want to get notified if you're enjoying the content. And I appreciate you giving a listen and sharing amongst your friends and social media. Ricky Skittle for Pontification Nation.